Hello everyone, this is Gail Woodard. I'm seeing some shade here at the bottom of this camera. I'm not quite sure why. Well, we'll do this anyway. Hi, Gail Woodard here from Dudley Court Press. And this morning's tip for writers has to do with answering the question, how long does it take to publish a book? I get this question a lot, and unfortunately it's one of those questions for which the answer is, it depends. But let me give you some of the dependencies here so that you can maybe get a sense of what it will take for your book when you're ready to publish. The first question is whether you're doing this as an amateur or a professional. And I've talked about this before, I've written about it, but basically, if you're doing something that's for your own personal use, go for it with the the amateur publishing route. It works just fine. If you are working on a book that has to do with your professional stature, or you're a writer who wants to be taken seriously as a professional, then you need to think more about the quality of the publishing that you're doing. And that requires, most of the time, it requires more time and more effort. So that's the first determinant. Amateurs can produce books in no time at all today. You can put anything together into a document and have an ebook up on Amazon within a couple of hours. It's very simple to do that. However, you have something that's probably not edited, not very well designed, and you haven't given it a lot of marketing thought, so it's just there. If you want a paperback book, you need a little more time and effort in it for design, but even with that, you can use templates if you're going the amateur route, and that can be very simple to do. If you're looking to do a hardcover book, that takes a little more effort and a little more time, because part of the process here, it's a two-part process. There's the file preparation process, and that's where you're making a lot of decisions where it takes more time to do it professionally than it does to do on an amateur basis. And then there's the printing process itself. And the printing process can be print on demand, which means it's digitally printed and you can print 1 or 100 copies, it doesn't matter. Or there's a print run where it's sent to a printer and they'll print 1,000 copies or 2,000 or 5,000 or 20,000 copies at one time. And that's on a different kind of press, and it takes more time for all of the processes to be conducted. So generally speaking, in our business at Dudley Court Press, when we're working with a paperback book, we estimate about 4 months' time from when we accept a manuscript till an author has the book in hand. That gives us plenty of time to go through all of the steps of file preparation. In terms of what we do and why it takes that long, we're talking about doing the copy editing, proofreading of the manuscript, then the whole design and layout process, and then proofreading again several times. There's quality control in the printing aspect of things. And so it just takes time. Each one of those rounds of proofreading or editing takes time. The other part that a lot of authors don't think about is the time it takes to get to the point to having a manuscript that's ready to go to the designer. And that has to do with the editorial, the preparation of the manuscript. So if you're an author and you've written your book, whatever it is, and maybe you've done some editing, maybe you haven't, but please do. Please bring in an editor. Again, if you're going the amateur route, it really doesn't matter that much. But if you are thinking of yourself as a professional, because you're a professional in your work, or you want to be taken seriously as a writer, then you have to have professional editing. And when you're working on a book, what you think is a great book may not be as good as it should be to be acceptable in the marketplace. If you read stories about authors whose books, it's not uncommon for someone to write a book, and it takes you all that time to write it, and I know it takes a lot of time, and you think you type the end and you're done, but you're not. You take it to a great editor who's going to show you where the book is weak, where the arguments don't quite work, or where the storyline falters, or where characters sort of show up and then disappear, or whatever it is. Editors will help with your thinking, to help you make your thinking clearer and your message clearer. Sometimes it takes just a month or two. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 years. People rewrite books 3 or 4 or 5 times. It all depends. So that's all in the editorial side of things. But it depends on the quality standard that you set for yourself as an author, and the quality standards that your publishing partner sets. So those things are very hard to there's no formula for any of that. But I would, generally speaking, if you have a decent manuscript and it's really ready for a light editing, not heavy editing, you need a month or 2 or 3 to work with an editor through the manuscript. And then you need the time for the design files to be created, the cover design, and then the interior layout, and all of the proofreading. At Dudley Court Press, with our VIP clients, we do 3 or 4 rounds of proofreading. Before the manuscript goes to design, we proofread it, and then after we have the laid out file, we review that several times, because we don't like mistakes in our books. Other people have different tolerances for that, so they do less proofreading. So those are the pieces that take up the time frame, and I would say for most of the authors that we work with, when we bring them in, when we know that the manuscript is ready, and it could be that they come to us and we pair them up with a good editor, and that editorial process could take several months. But when the manuscript is ready for the publishing process, we usually work in about a 4-month time frame. Again, you can do it faster. You could, if you find an espresso book machine, if you really need a book right away, a paperback book right away, and you have your file on a thumb drive, you can take it to an espresso book machine. There are some at different places around the country, and it's like a big Xerox machine, big copying machine, but it will produce a paperback book with a cover. You have to have the design files available to them, but you can produce it within a couple of hours. And that's pretty exciting if you're looking for a sample book, or you're looking just to make one copy of one book. If you have everything ready, you can do it pretty fast today. But I wouldn't count on that as your mode of operation if you're serious about being an author, because there's a lot more than just printing the book. And please don't get caught up in the idea of printing your book very quickly, even at your local print shop. There's a lot more involved in the construction of the files to make sure that they're right, and that they are going to serve you, your audience, and serve you and your book. Because your book is important. It's very important to you and to the people who are going to read it. So invest what you need to invest in terms of time to get it done right. That's it for today. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now.